So next what I'm going to do is working on the shoulder cape right here. So since this one is still single layer like this, we need to add some thickness on it. I'm using Z modeler with a Q mesh and set the target as polygroup all. And then, but first I need to turn off this double-sided. And then for Q mesh, I will drag it down like this. So if you see here, when I drag it down like this, the mesh is inverted. It's different if I drag it outside like this. So since I already get these overall shapes, the outer shapes right here, so what I'm going to do is I'm dragging it inside like this, and then I flip the surface. So now it's turned out to be something like this. Next, I will use dynamic subdivision level and use a crease poly group here. So now I can work on this. I open up geometry, I turn off the dynamic subdivision level. But first, maybe I need to rearrange this topology right here. I will using a Z modeler edge action slide, and then I choose edge loop complete. And now I can move this entire line that connected like this. And as for this one, I gonna need another loop right here. So I'll use slide again to rearrange the topology. Just try to make it every polygon here has a same size. I think I'll add another one here. So now I'm gonna subdivide it a couple of times, and I increase all and subdivide again. So it's smooth like this. Oh, this one happened if I press it this dynamic in the solo mode. I can turn that thing off again. Now I'll add some clothing folds behind here. I can turn off my symmetry. And for clothing like this, if you sculpt, usually the back side is also affected. Sometimes it's better that way, but sometimes if you see on the surface, on the intersection, and then you press double here, if it's good, if it has the same thickness like this, but sometimes it doesn't have the same thickness, so you need to keep checking the intersection. So right now I'm trying to adding some small clothing folds here on the back. So using this cloth brush, this has a gravity strength in here. So if you draw like this and you see from the side, your stroke is have some weight on it. So as you can see here, this position here, this peak of the brush here is a bit lower down. If you compare it just using the normal standard, as you can see, the normal standard, the peak part is right in the middle. So this one, this clothing brush here has a gravity strength. So you can also reduce it a bit, maybe for example 20 like this. So it's depend on what you want and how it's feel when you stroke it. So I will add simple clothing folds on the back like this, and since this part right here should be lowered down a bit, so it's need to be like this. So let me undo that since I forgot to turn on my symmetry. Now I turn on and I put it, so I rest it around the shoulder like this. So maybe for the hoodies, I need to do the same. I need to connect this hoodies part to the shoulder cape here. And turn off the symmetry again while working on this other part here. Let me check with the reference. Since this part has accessories later, let me open up the reference again. Since this part right here has an accessories like this, so usually I prefer not to give some clothing folds in here because it will be just make things complicated when I create the accessories later. So I'll keep it smooth for now. Later on, when I finish with the adding accessories, so I can just add another clothing folds. So right now I'm going to select this part, this outer part here, the pink colored one, and I want to apply this color for the accessories here. So I need to follow the concept here and make sure I activate symmetry and just brush it like this. Let me check if it's I think this part right here can be a bit straight like this. And I think this back part here, since the one on the back concept doesn't have any accessories, so I can improvise. So this part here I will work on the other side. You can just flip the spotlight here, by the way, but I prefer just use it like this. So I work on the other side and brush this as well. Let me mask this part so I don't want to ruin this. So I'll add this line right here. Maybe need a bit closer. Maybe like this, just so we know where's the exact position of this accessories here. So maybe I'm going to move it to the back a bit. So now the problem is this part right here, how to design this. So for me, I'm just going to add some paint. Maybe something like this. I'm probably going this part right here on this back here. So just to make them have a similarities, I can do this, flip the model and adding this right here. So yeah, the color a bit weird, but it's okay for now. We will add this later on. So next, let me do another sculpting so I can work with this base right here. So for this fur, I will using some symmetry. So for this side part here and right here, I will use symmetry, the one that I unmasked here. And for the mask part, later I will turn off my symmetry and working on that so it will looks better and faster because we use symmetry. Okay, so I will focus on the side part first. Same technique as before, but this time I don't use Dynamesh yet. I'll just use this topology, this mesh that already has topology. So like this, need to increase this just a bit. I think it's better to make it more rounded. Let me use standard brush. Can use pinch just to make it a little smaller. And inflate to make it more rounder. So I keep the fur direction the same, a little diagonal like this. I don't want to get a straight fur pointing down like this. So with creating diagonally, we can create a more dynamic look. So for this base block out for the fur, I will just use symmetry, turn on the symmetry. Smooth, and I think this cable can be a bit bigger, and this one can be a little closer to the cape like this. So this one needs a bit more thick, so I'm using move brush with backface mask. Turn off that. So for this part here, snake hook, AccuCurve. I need to turn off the RGB. Using damn standard. Can add another fur here, this pointy, and then add the clay buildup. Make sure also the volume of the intersection part here. If we add more volume on the fur like this, it will look better. And we need to adjust it to keep it the same style with the one that we previously did on the hoodies. If you find yourself with the brush a little bit weird, if your brush is behave a little bit weird, you can open up this picker here and turn on this circle here, and with this circle here your brush will behave, it will create the direction of your brush here will be following your camera. So I'll give you a better example. So with this turn on, this by default is continuous orientation turn on. Sometime when the surface like this, if you draw in a straight surface like this, it will works just fine. But if you want work on this part right here, it's still creating a straight line according to the surface of your model. But if you use this one right here, if you draw like this, it's still the same. But if you draw on the side part here, the line is not following your surface, but instead the direction is following your camera. So it's create a line like this. Sometimes I turn that thing on and off just to make sure the right feeling for my brush, because sometimes I need to work on not even surface like this. So yeah, and I will add some more here. Like this, and add them standard. This middle part is keep him smooth. Like this. Now it looks better. Need to add this part here also to follow the concept. This, yeah, I think it's worked nice. And don't forget to sculpt the one that inside. I'll keep the direction similar to the one in the outside surface. Use stem standard. I'll increase the roll distance, reduce the intensity. Check your lighting also, just to make sure. I'm using move some of this fur here. Smooth. And now I think I can turn off my symmetry because the base shapes is currently looks okay. So let me start with this here. I'll just following the main concept. Keep them looks fluffy, and this part right here, it has a fur like this, so it's in the opposite direction from the previous fur, which is diagonally like this. So I'll just add something like this just to blend them. Moving here, I'll add more here. So yeah, in the end I keep these two sides different I just use a symmetry to create the same page shape for the fur. So like this, I think it more fluffier and pinch. For the back part, same, just using the snake hook. Can increase the subdivision level if you want, and now it's at 2 million. So this part right here is, since everything is diagonally like this, so the one on the center here, I'm trying to make them directing to down, so make them pointing down here. I'll add another fur here, in here. Try to match with the previous fur. I think it's need more smooth. Like this. Now I'm working on this part right here. The other side is using move, and the snake hook right here. I'll add the smaller part here. And here. Check it from the far, and yeah, this one is more smooth. This part right here I forgot to unhide, so and this fur now is done. Next will be this top clothing here. Now just hide this part right here, the hair and hoodies as well. And for this part here, I can use extract. So I will just create this part right here, and this part, this puffy sleeves here will be a different mesh, just like this. So now for this part right here, I will mask them, turn on the symmetry. I'm using mask lasso. Then I mask this part. And unmask this, the one that hidden by the sleeves. Don't forget to save, just to make sure it won't error again once we extract it. Go to the lowest, subdivision level, maybe this subdivision level 2 like this, and extract, accept. So we have this mesh right here. So what I'm going to do now is just selecting this outer part and delete hidden. Now this part right here, let me turn on double so we can see it better. I will use zero measure, put the target polygon. I can use this to halve the current polygon number. Press zero measure. If I want to lower half again, I just make sure this half. And this one, I think it's pretty good to work with. So this part here need to fix. So I will just select these two here, unmask these two, and I will add another insert like this, and I stitch this point here, and I delete edges using edge action delete here. I just delete these two. So we have a cleaner mesh here. So I think it's good to go using this topology. So same as before, I turn off this double, Z modeler, Q mesh, and polygroup all. I invert like this and flip and crease polygroup. So now I have this surface here, adjust it a bit. Let me change the color. And since I want a sharper area here, I can just use group by normal and crease polygroup. And fix this here. Yeah, and then I turn off my dynamic subdivision, add some subdivision a couple times, uncrease all, and add more subdivision level. I can smooth the edges a bit. Add more subdivision. And this part right here, I want to it zero meshed. So right now the shape is too primitive object like this. I can just zero measure using half. So we have here, and add some subdivision level, and from the top part here, I'm going to mask using Gizmo, the mask topology like this, and smooth the surface. Use another Gizmo to lower this part here down a bit. So we have a fake hole like this. Smooth that part, the lower one no need. And if we see the concept here, there's actually a seam line around this neck part here. So to add that, I can add a couple more subdivision level, and I can use lasso, select lasso, and select the polygon around here. I probably need to lower my subdivision again, so I will select this part right here, and the one on the middle maybe. I think this need more polygon, the one in the middle, so let's just work on this first. I will invert my selection, go to the highest subdivision level, mask this part and unhide all, and smooth my mask just a bit, and I give some inflate, maybe -5. Yeah, that works pretty better. I think it's a bit too much, so I'll put -3 and inflate it just a bit like this. As for the one in the middle here, you can mask or just using this same technique as before. We select the edges, mask it, invert, and -invert, -inflate like this. Unhide the mask, smooth it a bit, or just remove the mask, and then we can smooth this part. We can use the smooth peak, so BSP, and skip this, and now it's just only smooth the top part, the peak part of the model. I'm not sure if we need to smooth this back as well, but I think it's not that feasible. So once we have here, we can pinch, so this intersection here is not looking good. I will just use stem standard to put it inside the under this part here, this color here, and I'll add a little folds here and smooth them. Let me turn my smooth into normal smooth, BSM. And now we have this part right here. Turn on the color. It's better to keep them same color. This body part here, I will increase it a bit. And this behind part here, I will smooth and fix the edges. Go to the lower subdivision level and fix the line, make it much smooth like this and sharp on this part right here. You can also add another line right here, so to make it just looks like a clothing. Same technique, I'm using lasso, invert, mask, unhide, -3 inflate, invert, and BSP like this, and I'm pinch. Now it looks like this. Now we can work on this puffy sleeves part here. We can start by using this mesh here. For this part right here, we need to dynamesh it to merge it like this. I will increase the resolution. So same as before, we work on the symmetry first and later we will improve. So I will use BSM, normal smooth, like here. For this part right here, I can just move it outside a bit so we can see the seam line. I think it's better like this. So we need to find some reference for this area here. For me, I will using this clay build up to create a folds like this. I'll put it a little bit random. Since this part is a bit big folds, it's like this. If we use symmetry, it will be noticed. People will notice it right away if you use symmetry. So I prefer not to use symmetry this time. I will start by adding these shapes like this. Them standard also to create a sharper line like this. You're following the concept. The one on the concept is doesn't have this much like this, so I need to reduce it just a bit, and maybe just add this line here first. Turn on the symmetry. Let me add this. Turn on shoulder cape. I think it to be lower a bit. So this part right here, I will paint it like this. So yeah, before we add the folds, it's better if we define this pattern right here, because later on we will build this line here from different mesh, a different subtool. So right now we have like this. I think we'll curve this inside like this. The folds here. I follow this one. This part, the left arm will be changed probably since the pose is like this. And turn out my symmetry, add some folds. Same with it here. I'll just make it a little different compared to the other side. and I won't add the one on the accessories here, the pattern here. So for now it's kind of looks like this. I'm going to zero mesh this part, Control D, freeze subdivision, zero mesh, reduce it, add couple subdivision, unfreeze. Oh yeah, since this is not symmetry, we need to clean that up. Reconstruct a couple of times. Turn on the color. For now, it will be looks like this. We will improve it later once we add some pose. So next, I think I will work on this top part of this suit, this bunny suit. I will add some thickness first on this tie here. Unmask. Same as before, we will use mask lasso to select the part that we want to create the clothing part. So for part like this, I'm just using normal mask, this mask pan. Unmask this part, or using lasso is much easier. I hold space. Like this. And hide all. And extract. Since when I extract this part right here, it's a little bit thicker like this, I will just reduce the thickness to 1 like this and extract, accept. So we have this part right here. I will delete the one on the inside, del hidden, and close holes. So now we have this closed mesh here. Now I'm going to need to mirror and weld. Since if we close hole, the holes will be in a different topology, so we need to mirror and weld. Sometimes this thing happen, you just smooth that and fix the edges. This I'll use AccuCurve to create this pointy part. One thing usually that I do for skin tight suit like this, once I mask this, I create a backup, I duplicate it, Ctrl Shift D, and I invert my mask and reduce the inflate. And increase subdivision again. So now it won't have any intersection with the current body. Actually, before we inflate that, let me undo. We can press this one right here, store morph target. So it's more like saving your current state of your model. Let me go to the highest subdivision and press store empty. It's located here, and then I reduce it and apply the minus inflate, same as before. Add it more like this. Now if you see here, if I go back to the highest subdivision level, I can switch to my previously shapes, my previous model shape like this. So if I switch it, it looks like this. Wait, let me undo that first. Seems like it inflated just a bit before. Now we can go back to the highest subdivision level, store empty, go to the middle like this and inflate a bit, and turn off the color to see and check using the switch here. And to fix this part right here, you can just use morph brush. It will turn your model to the back of the previous state, or you can just smooth. It's much simpler, but for now I will focus on this part here. I want to smooth this part. I'm using clip curve. Clip curve here also, and smooth that part. This part right here also needs smooth. This part as well, this to create the better line like this. Turn on the color. So as I mentioned before, we have a edge line right here. So I will add that later on my topology. So what I do now is I need to clean up this topology first. So this is the outer mesh. So let me double to see visible. This is the outer mesh. I will need to split that part over there. So what I'm going to do is I'm masking. Can use mask lasso like this. Mask this part. So the line is right here. Need to follow them. And this part right here will be ended right here. I'll Control W. And if you see the part that unmasked, not masked like this, you can just undo and mask again. So we have this line right here. So for the line right here, I'm not really sure, so maybe I'm not adding that. I will just adding this back part here. So using the same mesh, I will select this part right here. I turn off the symmetry and select just one side and Control W like this. And make sure the whole part here doesn't have a weird color like before. You can easily just selecting this outer part here and then Alt A to auto group. So now we can work with the Z remesher. Let me add some division level, freeze, and make sure before you press Z remesher, turn on the skip group and Z remesh. Now we have like this. We can undo, turn on the activate symmetry. It will symmetry this part right here. So, but later on we can regroup it, add some polygroup again. So I will keep this as a one polygroup like this because we have a weird thing going on here. Zero mesh again. We can reduce the resolution. So I think this is good. This part right here is just smooth it a bit. zero mesh again to see. There's bad part here. This hole, so we need to avoid this. So I will just use this mesh right here. Close holes just to make sure. Subdivide just to time maybe enough, and unfreeze. Over here is not that good. But I think it's fine for now. We can fix it later just using the damn standard. I will check the shapes, smooth some part, add some subdivision, and this part right here can have more smooth. And now we can improve the other feature on the stomach. This part here, the one on the edges, we can just add the same color so it won't really appear when we show this part here. Turn on the color. Like this. I will hide this shoulder cape. As you can see here, if we zooming this silhouette here, we have shapes like this. So this line right here looks like this. This is for skin surface tension of the skin. Usually if you have something that's compressed to your skin, it will create a line like this. So this is pretty good, especially for Bisoujo figure. So that's why the reason I masked this part here and inflate it negative, so to create this kind of effect. Oh, this part here doesn't look good, so I need to fix this using smooth. Okay, let me turn on the hoodish cape and the hair and see how it looks like. I think this fur here can be a bit bigger. I use this trim dynamic just to make it more flat like this. So I will add some more subdivision level, and I will add edge line around this bunny suit here. To add the line, since I don't have a good topology like other For example, like this one I have a better topology than this. So what I'm going to do is adding it manually. But this still here, this line here, topology here is still bugging me. Let me freeze again and let me freeze and remeasure again. And check the topology. I think it's a bit better like this. We can unfreeze, smooth some part, we can mask this, unmask the area. Let me smooth this on. Select this area and hide the mask. Smooth it like this. I can use AccuCurve. Just so this part right here creates straight line. Time standard to add a line like this. I need to fix this here. I inflate it a bit. So now I will improve this part. And now I will store morph target. I think I need more subdivision. Now it's 4 million. Store. And now I will create the line. I'm using dam standard. I'll increase my lazy radius. And start adding line on around the edges like this. I will change my orientation to continuous ori. Your hand need to be a little bit stable if you want to create better edge line like this. Continue adding to the back. Smooth this part here. If I don't like the line, I can smooth it and then I just add one. I also can use the morph brush to remove it, but it will remove most of it, so I don't want that. I just smooth it a bit like this. And let's do another stroke. Alright, so now this lower part here, same as before. Make sure it has the same thickness as the one on the top, but if it's not, then you can just pinch it later. Right now, we'll just focus on creating the line. Sometimes it create something like this, so that's why I using picker, turn this thing on, and now it's create a better line. So connect this. Now we have this, and adjust the line. Make this same thickness as the one on the top. I think the one on the top need to be open a little bit like this. So I need to adjust this part here, so it looks like a one layer. And now let's add this line right here. We can follow this topology line, temp standard. Just try your best to create a line following this polygroup line here. And for the middle part here, I will lower my subdivision and add some standard with lazy radius and roll distance. To add this kind of effect. So now it has a little shape here. I think a bit too much. Can undo that and add it once more. Use the pinch. If we found something that the line that not good, it's just same as before. We smooth it and add another line. Like this. So maybe I ended up adding this line right here, so let me just add that real quick. And now some adjustment. So this is a bit too curvy. Right, so now the one on the back. You can add it by turning off the symmetry and you drag. You can drag like this, but before you drag, you hold shift and there's appear a green line like this. So this is to create a straight line. So if your straight line is not right in the center, just hold down space, then remove it. Let me repeat it once more. Remove the shift, and you can remove like this. So I remove my space and shift while still holding my tablet, so it created like this. Turn on your symmetry and add some adjustment. Don't forget to save. So that's all for this class. Next, I will show you how I create the back cape and also adding the boots and straps. So see you in the next class.